Paul Levin was an American evangelist in the 20th century, greatly used of God to bring thousands of people to Christ through his crusades, to challenge believers through his daily radio broadcast, and to carry the message of Jesus to hundreds of millions of people around the world through his gospel tract ministry. Because of his effective evangelistic ministry, Paul Levin earned the nickname the Dean of Evangelists. He tells the story of his fascinating life and ministry through a very enjoyable question and answer session in a 3-hour-long, 2-part video titled Paul Levin, My Life Story. Paul J. Levin was the youngest of 12 children. His parents came to America from Sweden in the 1890s, and they settled in Rock Island, Illinois. Paul was born in Rock Island on October 13, 1914. His parents spoke Swedish, and young Paul grew up in a Swedish-speaking evangelical free church. Paul's mother led him to Christ in Swedish when he was 4 years old, and when he was 13, Paul was baptized at the urging of his brother Adolf, who was 18 years older than him. When he was still a boy, he wanted so badly to have his own Bible in English. When his sister found out about it, she gave him an English Bible that her dog had chewed the cover off of. But Paul didn't care. He was just thrilled to have his own copy of the Bible. Later, when he was in 4th grade, someone gave him his own copy of the New Testament, and he carried it with him to public school every day. When Paul was in his early teens, he went through a time when his heart grew cold towards the Lord. He had the opportunity to go to a Christian school in Iowa, but he decided not to. Then, the summer after his freshman year of high school, Paul became so sick that he landed in the hospital. Lying in his hospital bed in great pain, Paul knew that this was God getting his attention. So he told the Lord, "I'll go to the Christian high school this fall." That year in the Christian school would change the course of Paul's life. Some of the students got together that fall and planned several days of prayer for missions. They would meet each evening at 6 o'clock to pray for souls in a particular foreign country. In one of those prayer meetings, God worked powerfully in Paul Levin's heart, and he dedicated his life to the Lord. Paul's decision to surrender to the Lord led to other students doing the same. A spirit of revival broke out in the school, and the week of prayer for missions turned into 6 weeks of praying every night, beginning at 6 o'clock, and many nights the prayer meeting lasted until midnight. There was never a particular time when Paul specifically answered God's call to preach. When he was young, his mother would tell him, "I gave you to God before you were born. You belong to God." From the time he was able to walk and talk, he knew that someday he was going to be a preacher. He preached his first sermon when he was 15, from Psalm 23. Late in life, Paul Levin said that if he could change one thing about his life, he would get more schooling. The Christian school that he attended was run by a holiness church. And in that year of school, Paul's second year of high school, they persuaded him that the signs pointing to Christ's return were being fulfilled so quickly and so abundantly that he was wasting his time in school. If he was ever going to preach, he needed to get out there and preach right away. So at 15 years of age, Paul left high school to begin his ministry, and he never had any more schooling after that. There were 3 false doctrines that messed with Paul's mind early in his ministry. The false teaching that he could lose his salvation, the false teaching that holiness means sinless perfection, and the false teaching that physical healing is part of Christ's atonement, so that if you're truly saved, you'll never be sick. The Lord used several godly pastors to show Paul what the Bible teaches about each of these topics. God brought many godly mentors into Paul's life throughout the years, and Paul read countless books that taught him the Bible and the ministry. Paul Levin said that the more he read and studied the Bible, the more he solidly became a Baptist. Paul met his wife Dorothy in the fall of 1931, and they were married in the spring of 1936. In the 1930s, Paul was asked to write 2 articles for Evangel magazine, and the response to those articles was so great that Paul decided to put the article into tract form, printing 3,000 copies. That led to a demand for more gospel tracts. And so, Paul and Dorothy Levin started Bible Tracts Incorporated in their home. Since it began in 1938, Bible Tracts Incorporated has printed and distributed over 620 million gospel tracts free worldwide, and the ministry is still thriving today. In 1958, Paul Levin started a 15-minute daily radio program, Bible Tract Echoes, which still airs on over 100 radio stations worldwide. Early in his ministry, Paul Levin teamed up with Bob Finley, a blind gospel singer and guitar player. With Paul playing mandolin, they played and sang together in their crusades for 40 years. Paul Levin preached his last sermon as he was battling cancer on July 7, 1996. He died 2 months later, September 7, 1996, at 81 years of age. Christian, God has a wonderful future planned for every surrendered believer. Stay the course.